What's up, you sweaty nerds and greasy degenerates? So Honkai Star Rail has been out for roughly a year and a half now. It's been a long time, right? And the meta has developed into a bunch of different things a bunch of different times. The last time we did a top 5 best characters in Honkai Star Rail list was over 6 months ago. And most of those characters aren't in the top 5 anymore. So let's go ahead and see who the top 5 best characters in Honkai Star Rail are right now. Alright, so let's go over the criteria for this really quickly, and it's really simple and it's the same as last time. There will be 3 different categories: DPS, support, and sustainability. I'm going to try to give as much representation as I can, so the way this will work out is that 2 categories will have 2 characters representing it, and 1 category will have only 1 character representing it, because this is the top 5 list, and that's just how the math works. So right now, before we get too deep into this thing, let me know in the comments who you think the top 5 best characters in Honkai Star Rail are, and then let me know by the end of the video if you were right or not, or if you think I was wrong about any of these. There will also be some honorable mentions at the end of the video for those characters that didn't quite make it into the top 5, so stick around for that. And if you like this type of content, subscribe, maybe leave a like. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Now let's get into this thing. Now these characters are in no particular order because it's a little bit unfair to judge a sustain versus a support, or a support versus a sustain. You get the picture, okay? So just keep that in mind. Let's start things off here with Robin, because support characters a lot of the time are considered to be the best characters in the entire game. Even with a bad DPS character, you could put a great support character behind them and carry their sorry butts through the end game content. So it just feels fitting to put a support character at the start of the list, and Robin is the perfect representation for support characters in this game. To many, she seemed like she was going to be the dedicated follow-up support character, but she is so much more than that. She has a damage buff, she has a crit buff, she has action advance forward, she has so much going for her, and she is far more versatile than a lot of people thought that she was going to be. Because yeah, she is the best follow-up attack support in the game, and we are very much in the break effect and the follow-up attack meta right now, so she is very, very relevant, but she also works on DOT teams. She also has some fun tech you can try out on Acheron teams if you haven't tried that already. She has a cool interaction with Sparkle, where you could actually use Sparkle to action advance Robin at the start of battle and actually give her ultimate much quicker, giving your entire team an action advance forward faster than you normally would have. Now that's not necessarily something that everybody should try out, but it is something that is very fun and interesting to try if you felt so inclined. She's far, far more versatile than just some simple follow-up attack support. She has a damage buff, she has a crit buff, she has an attack buff, she has action advance forward, dude, and she's incredibly easy to build as well with the right knowledge and awareness. Usually a character that's this good has some type of thing that might be holding them back to sort of balance them out, but not Robin. She's got it all. In fact, in many people's eyes right now, Robin might have dethroned Ruan Mei as the new best character in the entire game. Yeah, sure, part of that might be because we are in the middle of a very heavily dominated follow-up attack meta, but Ruan Mei is one of the best supports in the break effect meta, and this is currently the break effect and the follow-up attack time period that we're in right now. Now, yeah, sure, that take might be a bit controversial for many because Ruan Mei has been the queen of the game for so long now, but it's natural that as time develops and as metas change and whatnot, that other characters might become more valuable over time, and I think that time period might be now. Robin, it might be the best character in the entire game as it stands right now currently. Because if you're a top level player, and if you're trying to zero cycle, if you're trying to do all of this fun, cool, and interesting stuff that we do in top level play, you've seen what Robin can do, man. It's absolutely nutty what she can do, and the different things that we're trying out with her, like that Sparkle tech where you can basically get Robin into her ultimate faster, giving your entire team an action advance forward more quickly, rather than just one character like Sparkle would do. But this is a top 5 list, not a top 1 list. So let's move on to the next character, and you may have already guessed who that's gonna be. We mentioned her already, Ruan Mei. No, I don't necessarily think much needs to be said here, right? For so long, this character, Ruan Mei, has been considered to be the best character in the entire game, pretty much since her launch, since her release in patch 1.6, she has been dominating the meta. Everywhere she goes, she could be used on basically any team because she has a very, very high damage buff, and that works on literally any DPS character, including Blade, who is an alt-scaling DPS. And there's a running joke in the community that Ruan Mei is the best sustainability character in the entire game. Now, the reason why people say that, in case you guys didn't know, is because when you're trying to, let's say, zero cycle or something like that, you tend to run a zero sustainability team, meaning no sustainability, no healer, no tank. And she's the best character to insert into that slot most of the time because when you break an enemy's weakness, she can delay their action afterwards. You can't take damage if the enemies aren't allowed to attack, which is why this running joke still exists, because she typically is the best insert here for that sustainability slot if you are running zero sustain. And just like with Robin, Ruan Mei is incredibly easy to build. You just hit some minimal stat requirements and then you can pretty much dump everything into something like speed or survivability pieces like HP or defense, because a lot of her abilities don't scale off of a stat. Some do, but most don't, making her probably the easiest character to build on this list. And she hasn't given up that fight yet, okay? Ruan Mei, in many people's eyes, will still be considered to be the best character in the entire game. There is an argument to be made that it's either Ruan Mei or Robin, and many of you Firefly players out there are probably thinking Ruan Mei is the best because she's basically your best support besides Harmony Trailblazer. And just so that you guys know, the last time I did a top 5 best characters in Honkai Star Rail list, Ruan Mei was also on that list, and she's the only character from that original list over 6 months ago that is still considered to be a top 5 character in this game, making her basically future-proof for a pretty good amount of time. But that's the support characters taken care of. Let's take a look at a DPS character now. Now, this character is a bit of a newer character, but she has immediately made a massive impact with her powerful ultimates. This is Feixiao, because we are in the middle of a very, very heavily dominated follow-up attack meta, and she is the new follow-up attack queen, the best follow-up attack DPS for that slot. For a long time, Dr. Ratio has been sitting at the top of the DPS slot for the follow-up attack meta, but Feixiao came along, said, "Hold my beer," and then whipped out her fat cock and dropped it on the table. This hot Foxian deals follow-up attack after follow-up attack after follow-up attack. Even her skill has a follow-up attack attached to it of its own, and it even buffs herself for 3 different turns, bro. She has all kinds of stuff going on. Her ultimate is an absolute nuke. It has 6 different hits you can do with different variations you can use of it, with a massive 7th hit at the very end. The different hits you can choose are variants of using either her axe or her gun blades, and between each individual hit, you can choose either one, giving you a bunch of versatility in battle. Using her axe will deplete the toughness bar, aka shields, of enemies, and if the shield is gone, you can use the gun blades to deal increased damage. Basically, it's very simple. If the enemy has a toughness bar, hit them with the axe. If the toughness bar is gone, hit them with the gun blades. It is that simple, and it deals so much damage. And she has 2 very fun ways of being able to build her. A little bit of a slower version, but she deals a lot of damage, and a little bit of a faster version where she ultimates more often, which is typically, in my opinion, the best way to go, because the more ultimates she gets, the more damage she deals over time in battle, and that's the most fun way to play, is having ultimate after ultimate, follow-up after follow-up. This character is so much fun. And her ultimate doesn't use traditional energy. You build up stacks with her, and she can hold up to 12 stacks. But you only need 6 stacks to use her ultimate. So this gives you a lot of versatility, and it doesn't require you to have to use her ultimate right away. You can wait till the right moment to use it on the right enemy while you are buffed up by all your allies at the perfect, most opportune time. You could even blow both of those ultimates at the same time, dealing a massive amount of damage back to back. Speaking of Acheron, that's the next character on this list, and you guys all knew this was coming, right? She's been the queen of the DPS slot for so so long now. She doesn't care who the enemy is, what the meta is. Forget follow-up attack, forget break effect. It's Acheron time. And she comes out there and she deals a fuck ton of damage and she says good night and sends them down the line. The developers have spent a lot of time developing Acheron. This is clearly like their favorite character in the game, probably. They even told us during one of the special programmings how much time they spent on her and how much work that they put on just this one character. And it shows, not just in the combat, but in the lore. There's so much going on with this character and so much backstory and so many connections, not just with Honkai Star Rail, but with previous iterations of their games, such as Genshin Impact. This is essentially a Ruan Mei XP. In fact, Acheron's real name in Honkai Star Rail, we found out through the main story that her name is Ruan Mei. That is literally her name, Ruan Mei. So she basically has plot armor, and not just in the story, in combat as well. She doesn't care that there's been a break effect meta. She doesn't care that there's been a follow-up attack meta. She says, I'ma come through and I'ma show you the easiest zero cycle you've ever seen in your entire life. She says, hide your kids, hide your wife, hide your husband. I'ma take that. It's Acheron time, baby. It's actually kind of crazy because she's a Nihility character. Like, Nihility is usually debuffers, like DOT characters or like, you know, defense down characters. Dude, Acheron came along and she was like, what about a crit damage based DPS that depletes the toughness bars of enemies? Can I just come through and do that? And the devs were like, well, you're Ruan Mei XP, so you can do whatever you want, ma'am. Have a nice day. And I mean, let's be real. What really matters here is that out of all the other characters on this list, she probably has the best representation on Rule 34 video as a whole. You might think that doesn't matter, but tell that to my left hand. Anyways, let's get into our sustainability slot here, the survivability slot here, and that's gonna be Aventurine, the gambler. But whenever you choose this guy to sustain for your team, it's never a gamble, because if you choose this guy, you basically cannot die. The dude is OP as hell, man. It's insane. He basically, on a follow-up attack team, for example, can just basic attack, ult, basic attack, ult, basic attack, ult. Bro never even has to hit his skill because it automatically triggers his talent, which puts up shields that stack on the previous shields that were there before. This dude is insane. He has debuffs for enemies, which can increase the crit damage you apply to them. Bro is busted. And even if you're not on a follow-up attack team with him, you can put him on basically any team. Like, bro is actually so reliable, you could put him on quite literally any team you wanted. Now, yeah, sure, you might not get the best synergies or whatever with certain things, but it doesn't matter. Bro can literally just live for you. Your whole team you put him on your team and you just live, bro. And he has damage of his own. Bro, besides Gallagher, like with his ultimate on a break effect team or something like that, this bro has some of the highest damage you will ever see out of a sustainability character in this game. In fact, he's so reliable and can deal so much damage of his own, people even sometimes run Hyper Carry Aventurine. Yes, 3 support characters that are all buffing Aventurine so that he can be the damage dealer on your team. It is one of the goofiest things in this game, and it's a lot of fun, dude. You should try it out sometime. It's pretty cool. And so, like, even if you're not on a traditional follow-up attack team with this guy, yeah, sure, sometimes your shields might get slightly depleted or whatever. You might feel the need to hit his skill every once in a while, but that's honestly pretty normal for like any type of sustainability character, right? But his passive is so good that you usually don't find yourself even having to use that skill if you have a really, really well built up team that's DPSing down the enemies so fast that you don't really have to ever worry about that. I, for example, can't even remember the last time I actually hit this guy's skill in Memory of Chaos or any, tough mode, other than maybe Simulated Universe endgame modes where like they ramp up the difficulty super duper high, and occasionally, yeah, you might have to hit the skill with the guy, but that's a rare scenario and not even that big of a deal, right? So Aventurine is a very fun and interesting and unique sustainability character in this game, and you guys may have already noticed because this was the 5th character on this list, making Aventurine the best sustainability character in Honkai Star Rail, at least right now. And that brings us to our honorable mentions, which we're just going to kind of speed run through these ones, okay? Huo is going to be the honorable mention for sustainability, because with that attack buff and with that energy buff, it is simply better than what Fu Xuan, for example, is able to bring with a simple 12% crit rate buff. Fu Xuan is good, she's very safe, but Huo is better at top level play, and that is what this list is based on, top level play. The top 5 best characters, not the top 5 most cozy characters. And some people are going to be pissed off about this next one being in the top 5 because the Firefly simps are very adamant about their favorite character, and that brings us to, of course, Firefly. She's the best breaker in the entire game, but she's not quite as good as Acheron and Feixiao are right now. And the last honorable mention we're going to include here is, of course, Sparkle. There's a lot of fun and interesting things you can do with action advance forward, but unfortunately, she does have strong buffs, but she only action advances 1 character, while a character like Robin is able to action advance 3 characters, and that just has the edge up on Sparkle. Now, if your favorite character didn't end up in this video, it's not because they're bad, it's just because these characters are a little bit better right now. The meta is going to change, this list is going to change, and it probably won't take that long for that to happen. Characters are constantly getting released in this game, changing things up. The previous top 5 is completely different than this particular top 5, and it only has been 6 months since the last time we made this video. Anyways, let me know if you got any of these characters right in the top 5. Let me know if there's any characters that you would have liked to have seen in the honorable mentions. And if you guys like this kind of stuff, consider leaving a like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.